Sheathing his sword, Wong Lin returned to Vast City. Night had already fallen, marking the end of the day. He flew swiftly through the skies, heading toward the MO residence. Mid-flight, his brows furrowed and his body halted. In a deep voice, he asked, "What is it?" From afar on the long street, a group of figures emerged, men and women alike, all cultivators above the infant metamorphosis stage. Some among them had even reached the mid or late stages of that realm. Wong Lin remained calm, silently observing them. He sensed no killing intent, only a heavy sorrow and frustration radiating from their presence. A man in white stepped forward. Handsome and dignified, he clasped his fists toward Wong Lin and said, "Fellow Taoist Wang, your name has long echoed in my ears since our time on the Destiny Star. During the recent Demon General battle, your presence deeply moved us." Wong Lin swept his gaze across the crowd. He could more or less guess their intentions. He returned the gesture and said, "You flatter me." The man in white let out a sigh. "I am the young sect master of the Jade Sword sect. I had no choice but to get involved in the Demon General battle. A few days ago, Brother Wang's prowess was like a wake-up call to me. In this land of demonic spirits, the lives of cultivators like us are worth less than ants. Demon generals must not die, and those who kill them are doomed to perish alongside them. In the end, it's us cultivators who pay the price, all for the amusement of these barbarians in the demon spirit land." Wong Lin stayed silent. "This man here aided the demon general AOD. The man continued, pointing to a middle-aged man in a Taoist robe beside him. The man stepped forward and clasped his fists respectfully. "Fellow Taoist Wang, AOD's death opened my eyes as well. The military merits in this land of demonic spirits may be great, but without life to enjoy them, what value do they hold?" The man in white sighed again. "Serving as entertainment for the savages of this land was never our path as cultivators. The Taoists behind me have all decided to leave Celestial Demon City. Today, we came only to bid you farewell. Farewell." With that, he took a deep breath and leapt into the air, transforming into a rainbow streak that shot into the sky. The cultivators behind him each clasped their fists in farewell, one after another turning into rays of light that vanished into the horizon. Wong Lin stood silently, watching them depart, never uttering a word. Cultivators are those who defy the heavens. They must possess unyielding spirit. If they bow before power, then there is no longer defiance, only submission to fate. Yet this defiance had another meaning. Those who left were not defying, they were avoiding. True defiance means fearing neither heaven nor earth, neither fate nor the laws of the path of the heavens. It is moving against the current from within the current. A cultivator who loses their own path cannot be called a true cultivator. Wong Lin began walking. He didn't fly, just quietly walked forward. Under the moonlight, his shadow stretched long and far. Cultivation is to defy the heavens and walk one's own path. His pace was slow, as if the street before him stretched into eternity. Time passed. Eventually, the MO residence appeared in the distance. In the dark, the lanterns outside cast a gentle glow, a flicker of light in the night that caused Wong Lin to halt and silently gaze ahead. Though faint, the lantern light still illuminated the residence's nameplate. The night wind stirred, and the lanterns swayed. Even the candles within flickered uncertainly, but the light never went out. It continued to shine, stubborn and tenacious. Wong Lin stood quietly in the darkness. A flicker of realization lit up his eyes. Yet it wasn't complete. He felt as if he had grasped something, but then, in the next moment, it slipped away. Something transformative was beginning to take root in Wong Lin, silent and unseen. Time passed, and the blackness of night was gradually dispelled by the rising sun in the east. The darkness before Wong Lin's eyes faded like a receding tide. At that moment, it was as if a bolt of lightning struck his mind, and a faint zither melody echoed in his ears. He felt as if he had suddenly attained enlightenment. The night, swept away by sunlight. Is this not also defiance? This character, Defy, could it be the key to reaching ascendancy? A vague insight bloomed in his heart. It was shallow, but it had taken root. A strange light shone in Wong Lin's eyes. He didn't head into the MO residence. Instead, he turned and left. By the riverside, he sat down in meditation like an old monk. Though no zither played, echoes resounded in his ears, echoes from his heart. The zither holds no emotion, yet when sorrow fills the heart, its melody becomes mournful. But that is not defiance. It differs from the insight I had earlier. Then why, when I hear this zither, does it feel as if I hear the tone of defiance? By noon, sunlight spread warmly across the land. The painted boat approached. On board, beside the zither-playing woman, the young man from days before appeared once more. This time, his gaze landed on Wong Lin from afar. The music drifted through the air as the young man stood by the woman, wine cup in hand, and lifted it slightly toward Wong Lin. Wong Lin lifted his wine flask and gently clinked it in return before taking a sip. But the young man shook his head, pointed toward the bow, and did not take even a sip of his wine. Wong Lin let out a light laugh. Though the young man's appearance was ordinary, there was an air of carefree elegance about him. After a brief pause, Wong Lin shifted his body and stepped onto the surface of the river, landing on the bow of the boat. The woman playing the guqin did not notice the new arrival, continuing to play the sorrowful tune. The young man smiled, holding his drink. He downed it in one gulp, then casually tossed his sleeve and sat down beside her. Wong Lin also sat down, sipping from his wine flask while listening intently to the guqin music. He quietly observed the delicate hands of the woman playing the instrument. The three people at the bow said nothing. After the young man invited Wong Lin aboard, he had remained silent, smiling faintly. Wong Lin, too, had no desire for conversation, as the guqin music was already captivating. Under its influence, any words seemed like a mere distraction. The music played on, and the boat drifted down the river. Wong Lin sat there for an entire day. The young man, like him, remained silent. When their wine ran low, servants emerged from the boat to refill their cups. As the sky darkened, lights appeared along the riverbanks. Even aboard the boat, many lights glowed, creating a beautiful sight. When the boat returned to the riverbank near where Wong Lin had boarded, Wong Lin stood, cupping his hands toward the young man, preparing to step into the wind and leave. At that moment, the man who had been silent all day spoke softly. "Brother, it seems the music has stirred something in you?" Wong Lin paused for a moment before replying. "It reminded me of an old friend." The young man finished the wine in his cup, his face showing a hint of bitterness as he spoke. No wonder. If the heart is unburdened, one is not moved by music. Brother, like me, is just an ordinary person. While they conversed, the woman playing the guqin trembled slightly, and her music began to falter. "If you have no urgent matters, why don't the two of us share a drink until dawn and listen to Miss Mingxuan's music?" the young man suggested. Wong Lin hesitated for a moment, glanced at the young man, and nodded. "That sounds good." The young man smiled faintly, filling his cup. "I've been observing you for some time. I noticed that, though you were present by the river, your mind was elsewhere, as if you were just passing through." Wong Lin took a sip of wine and shook his head. "An ordinary man. If I were to say just passing through, it would only be an illusion. And you, too, aren't you the same? Your spirit is here, but your body, I wonder where it has gone." The young man looked deeply at Wong Lin and said, "There have been many boisterous guests at my home, so I flew here to find some peace." "So, you're someone with a family," Wong Lin murmured. "Do you have a family?" the young man countered. "I do, but it's far, far away." Wong Lin's mind drifted to the valley near the Vermilion Bird Star. "Is there anyone else at home?" the young man asked. "No, just me." "What about you?" Wong Lin took another sip from the wine flask. "I have a niece, but she's very mischievous. Recently, she's also been bothered by a troublesome guest." The young man laughed as he said this. The two chatted casually for a while, then fell into silence, sitting quietly at the bow of the boat, enjoying the moonlight and the guqin music, accompanied by wine. The night passed, and the first light of dawn began to illuminate the earth. Mingxian had already gone to rest. The two men, however, remained still at the bow. The music long faded, but the sounds of the night still lingered in their ears. Wong Lin picked up the wine flask, cupped his hands to the young man, then stepped forward and disappeared into the morning mist with a single stride. In the imperial capital, the first round of the demon general competition had ended. Of the hundreds of demon generals, only 48 remained. The others had either been defeated or lost the qualification with a draw. The first round, which had lasted for several days, left no demon general seriously injured, except for AOD. But among the cultivators, the casualties were severe. After all, this was a battle among cultivators, especially among the disciples of the great Luo sword sect, who, while sparing the demon generals, showed no mercy against their fellow cultivators, seemingly eager to use this opportunity to display their own strength. The morning sun illuminated the myriad Zhang Plaza in the imperial capital. The grandstands on three sides were now even more crowded, as the next round would be the true battle among the demon generals. Only the most exceptional could remain. Many of them weren't ordinary individuals. The 48 demon generals entered from the heavenly demon sect, and a strong sense of battle intent seemed to transform into a ferocious ancient beast, howling as it surged out with the opening of the sect's gates. At the center of the plaza stood a golden-armored man, his face indifferent, scanning the faces of the entrants. When his gaze fell upon Wong Lin, he snorted coldly. In his eyes, a mere cultivator who had dared to severely injure a demon general in the land of demon spirits was enough of a reason for him to kill Wong Lin 100 times over. In my land of demon spirits, these so-called cultivators are nothing but a bunch of bandits. They come here for the ancient demon inheritance. It's no loss if they die, but if anyone dares to harm a demon general, that is a grave sin. The golden-armored man was deeply displeased with Wong Lin, and his thoughts turned murderous. Wong Lin cast a cold glance at the golden-armored man. Having practiced the slaughter immortal art, he was highly sensitive to killing intent. After all the demon generals and their helpers exited the heavenly demon sect, the gate slammed shut. The golden-armored man pointed to the massive demon drum beside him and coldly said, "By the order of the demon sovereign, there is a change in the second round. It will not be a fight, but the sounding of this war drum." As soon as these words were spoken, all the demon generals' expressions changed, but immediately, their eyes flashed with intense sharpness. Even Mo Lehigh trembled slightly, and then a tremendous light appeared in his eyes. The war demon drum. This is the sacred artifact of the heavenly demon province, second only to the dragon pool. In the past, only when a vice-marshal ascends to the position of chief marshal would they be granted the right to strike this drum. In previous demon general wars, there were never any changes. Why is it different today? It seems that the decision to select 2 vice-marshals from within has stirred up some rumors. It's said that when all demon marshals ascend to power in the heavenly demon province, they must strike this drum, but it's extremely difficult to strike. To date, only Lord Heaven Marshal has been able to strike it 15 times. The murmur of voices reverberated like never before, and even when Wong Lin severely wounded AOD, the discussions then were still weaker than they were now. The man in golden armor snorted, as though thunder had reverberated across the plaza. When the noise settled, although he was also puzzled by the emperor's arrangement, he coldly said, "This drum was left by the first-generation demon emperor of the heavenly demon province. It is said to be made from the skin of an ancient demon. Those with insufficient vitality will collapse before they even strike it. 3 strikes denote strength, and 6 strikes denote a genius. With your strength, few can exceed 3. This round, we take the top 10. After finishing these words, the man in golden armor didn't wait for further discussion to erupt from the crowd. He pointed to one of the demon generals and shouted, "You son, step forward." From among the demon generals, a figure walked out. His gaze was cold, and the crisp sound of his armor echoed as he moved. With each step, he approached the war demon drum. He looked at the drum, and suddenly, a sharp gleam erupted from his eyes, igniting a fierce battle intent in his heart. He didn't act immediately, but stood silently beneath the drum, circulating his demon power and adjusting his inner breath to reach the optimal state. Yusun didn't have confidence in striking the drum. After all, to him, the drum was almost like a sacred relic. The man in golden armor glanced at Yusun and thought to himself, with Yusun's cultivation, he might manage 4 strikes. But if he forces a 5th strike, his vitality will surely collapse. He closed his eyes after a single glance. All the onlookers focused their attention on Xun'er. He maintained a calm expression, constantly adjusting his internal breath. To avoid distractions, he closed his eyes, deaf to the outside world. Gradually, a thick demon aura began to emanate from his body, rising into the air like a mist, swirling with clouds. Low murmurs from the surrounding stands rose and fell. The path of slaughter is extremely difficult to cultivate. Xun'er has practiced it for many years. He's the first to take the stage today. He might really surprise us. Otherwise, this drum is made from ancient demon skin. Even if Xun'er manages to strike it, he'll surely be shaken and injured by the rebound. The 8 demon marshals in the stands also turned their gaze toward Xun'er. Interest appeared in their eyes. But instead of speaking like the others, they exchanged knowing glances and deduced the situation. Although the 6 vice marshals didn't have the sharp insight of the chief marshal, their profound cultivation allowed them to sense something was amiss. Only Deputy Marshal Xian, however, did not look at Xun'er, but instead, his gaze was fixed on Wong Lin among the demon generals. Wong Lin, I wonder how many times you can strike the drum, he pondered, when suddenly, Deputy Marshal Huang beside him chuckled. Deputy Marshal Xian, I think I'm going to win our bet. The cultivator you chose can only take the stage alone. There's no way they'll win. Deputy Marshal Xian snorted coldly and said, just wait and see. This person is far from what you imagine. As they conversed, suddenly, Xun'er on the plaza opened his eyes wide. At that moment, he seemed to be possessed by the war god. His eyes sparkled like a bright moon. A low roar, like that of a tiger or dragon, escaped from Xun'er's mouth. He stomped his feet into the ground, and like a sword drawn from its sheath, his body moved through the air, tracing a brief arc as he charged toward the war demon drum. In midair, his right hand formed a sword with his fingers. At this moment, all of his energy, spirit, and focus converged into his fingers, which shot out wildly and struck the drum. The dark surface of the drum slightly caved in, but only for a moment. When it did, it rebounded quickly. Boom! The deep, resonant sound of the drum echoed through the sky, spreading across the plaza, extending throughout the entire imperial capital, and reaching deep into heavenly demon city. As the drum sounded, Xun'er immediately felt an unimaginable force surging from the drum, striking his body like a tidal wave. Xun'er's face turned pale. His eyes revealed a killing intent. Rather than retreating, he took another step forward and, without hesitation, struck the drum once again with his right hand. Boom! The drum sound roared like thunder striking the earth. Xun'er's low growl intensified as the demon aura around his body transformed into various eerie faces. These faces appeared to be in agony, vanishing the moment they emerged from the demon energy, only for new ones to appear immediately afterward, repeating in an endless cycle. Soul-devouring slaughter first style. Xun'er's voice echoed as though it came from the depths of the 9 hells. As soon as his words fell, countless faces of suffering appeared around his body, seemingly finding an outlet for their torment, and they rushed toward Xun'er's right hand with wild abandon. His entire right hand suddenly shone with a blinding blue light. Xun'er let out a loud shout, his right hand forming a palm as he struck toward the demon drum. Before his palm even made contact with the drum, the gust of wind from his hand surged forward, striking the demon drum. Boom! The third sound reverberated through the heavens and earth. At that moment, those around him were moved. Although it seemed like a trick, the power of this soul-devouring slaughter was undeniable. The wind from his palm swept through, and Xun'er's right hand pressed onto the demon drum. Boom! Almost instantly after the third sound, the fourth followed closely behind, the 2 drum beats merging into one, transforming into the roaring sound of thunder. Xun'er quickly retracted his right hand and rapidly retreated, stepping back over 100 meters before stabilizing himself. He took a deep breath, his complexion turning a strange shade of red as he forcibly suppressed a burst of blood energy. His right hand trembled, losing its feeling, and the demon power within him had been depleted by 80%, merging into the first move of soul-devouring slaughter. Everyone, step forward. Those who aided the demon general Xun'er, come out. The golden-armored man said flatly, I have no helpers. Xun'er took a deep breath and said in a low voice. The golden-armored man glanced at Xun'er, his gaze shifting to the demon generals, selecting the next person. His eyes first landed on Wong Lin, and he sneered inwardly, but he didn't call Wong Lin. Instead, he pointed at Mo Fei in the crowd and shouted, "Demon General Mo Fei, step forward." As soon as the words were spoken, the murmurs around them ceased, and all eyes turned to one person. This man, clad in armor with a sinister mask on his face, had black hair that blew in the wind. He walked out from the crowd with slow steps. To those in the surrounding stands, his movements seemed to synchronize with the heartbeat, giving off a strange, eerie sensation. Demon General Mo Fei, the #1 Demon General 300 years ago. This man has been stationed at the borders for years. It's said that in the eyes of those in the Flame Demon Province, Mo Fei's head is worth a considerable sum. Mo Fei's cultivation technique is mysterious. To this day, he has only demonstrated the wheel reversal art. I'm sure he can strike the demon drum at least 5 times. Mo Fei. The Earth Commander observed him closely, a smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. If this child undergoes another trial in the Dragon Pool, he could be among the top 3 deputy commanders. Sitting next to him was a middle-aged man in a purple robe, his demeanor refined. At this moment, he smiled and said, "Could it be that the Earth Commander has taken a liking to this talent?" The Earth Commander laughed heartily and nodded. "If this child strikes the drum 6 times, even if he doesn't become a deputy commander, I will still recommend him," the Earth Commander said with a smile. Mo Fei walked calmly toward the demon drum, and the eyes of everyone around him followed his every step. When he was 10 paces away from the demon drum, Mo Fei stopped and gazed at the drum, his eyes filled with calm. He didn't waste time adjusting his internal breath, but instead threw a punch into the air. Boom! The drumbeat resonated, deep and thunderous. The armor on Mo Fei's body instantly seemed to be blown by a violent wind, emitting a series of cracking sounds. His hair whipped wildly, yet his body remained firmly rooted to the ground, motionless, his expression unchanged. "So, it's not that hard," he chuckled lightly, stepping forward by 1 pace and swinging his right hand. Boom! Without pausing, Mo Fei took another step forward, his right fist swinging through the air. Boom! 3 drum beats in a row, like a roar from ancient times, echoed throughout the celestial demon city. The drum beats reverberated endlessly, and some onlookers, unable to withstand the demon power, were shaken into internal injury. After the 3rd sound, Mo Fei's body halted. He felt an overwhelming surge of energy, like a mighty wave, rushing toward him. He stepped forward, his body anchoring to the ground like a rock amidst the waves, motionless. The armor around his body shook violently, but eventually stabilized under the spreading demon power. Mo Fei's eyes behind the mask erupted with a gleam of brilliance, and a trace of seriousness appeared on his face. He murmured to himself, "Quite interesting." He stepped forward again, moving another pace, and swung his right fist. Boom! The punch landed. Without pausing, he threw another punch. Boom! Mo Fei's body continued to step forward, closing the distance with the demon's source. With every step, he unleashed a punch. Boom! When the 6th drumbeat rang out, loud cheers immediately erupted from the surrounding stands. Even the demon marshal, apart from the heavenly marshal, could not hide his admiration. Mo Fei! Mo Fei! Mo Fei! The cheers echoed from all around the stands. Anyone who could strike the drum 6 times was considered a genius, especially since this person was not injured, but instead calmly struck 6 times. This alone far surpassed every demon general. Even the golden-armored man nodded in acknowledgement, his eyes filled with intense admiration. 6 strikes, and that's enough to make Mo stop. Mo Fei's eyes flashed with sharp light, and in a single leap, he rose into the air, stepping onto the void, and punched towards the demon drum. Boom! The 7th sound echoed. This 7th sound, however, was drastically different from the previous 6, vaguely carrying a sense of iron-like killing intent. Mo Fei's usual calm expression suddenly changed, and without hesitation, he immediately retreated. As he retreated, his armor shattered with a series of loud bangs, turning to ashes that scattered into the air. Mo Fei's face turned slightly pale as he halted his steps, growling lowly before charging forward once more. This time, he formed hand seals with both hands, white light swirling around, turning into crystalline shards that seemed like mirrors surrounding him. He flicked a finger, and again, the demon drum sounded with a boom. This was the 8th strike. The backlash was even more violent than before, surging wildly. All the crystals in front of Mo Fei collapsed in an instant, but the force was significantly weakened. Despite this, when it hit Mo Fei, he was still shaken and forced to retreat 100 paces before stopping. His mask shattered completely, revealing his handsome face. Wong Lin's gaze immediately sharpened as he focused on Mo Fei's face, a strange light flashing in his eyes. His appearance. Wong Lin instantly recognized that this person's face was exactly the same as that of the black-haired man deep within the blood prison. At this moment, Mo Fei staggered, blood rushing from his mouth, but he forcefully swallowed it down. Taking a deep breath, he turned and walked toward the demon generals. At this moment, the entire plaza erupted in a deafening cheer, so loud it almost drowned everything else out. Could it be that Mo Fei is the first among the demon generals? Being able to strike 8 times in our heavenly demon province, Mo Fei is second only to the commanders. This time, Mo Fei is certain to become a deputy commander. His military achievements are outstanding, and once he becomes a deputy commander, he'll add countless more victories to our heavenly demon province. On the high platform, the 8 demon marshals looked on. Except for the heavenly marshal, whose gaze remained calm and unmoved, the other 7 all showed deep admiration in their eyes. This child can strike 8 times, truly a peerless talent. Well done. Indeed, and from what I can observe, he hasn't used his full strength yet. Otherwise, perhaps he could have struck a 9th time. At such a young age, to have such hidden and subtle schemes, truly rare. The deputy commanders were also conversing among themselves. Among them, Deputy Commander Huang chuckled and said to Deputy Commander Xian, "Brother, do you still refuse to admit defeat?" Deputy Commander Xian snorted coldly, speaking firmly. Mo Fei is indeed strong, one might say extremely strong. When I was his age, I was nowhere near as capable as him. In fact, after undergoing the Dragon Pool's baptism, his strength will only increase. But compared to the one I've chosen, Mo Fei still doesn't measure up. This immediately left him in great astonishment. Well then, I'll wait and see how many times this person can strike. Deputy Commander Huang smiled slightly. Deputy Commander Xian fell silent. His gaze turned complicated as he looked at Wong Lin among the demon generals in the distance. He silently thought to himself, Mo Fei is strong, yes, but Wong Lin, he's terrifying. Can you compare strength with terror? The golden-armored man looked at Mo Fei as he walked back toward the demon generals, his eyes filled with admiration. For the first time, he smiled and said, Mo Fei, the demon general, has a helper. Step forward. A young cultivator in a green robe walked out from the crowd. He carried a large sword on his back, standing as still as a sword himself. As he stepped forward, his body swayed, and in an instant he transformed into a wisp of green smoke, dashing towards the demon drum. Just before reaching the demon drum, the cultivator formed a hand seal with his right hand, pointing forward into the empty space. As the drum beats echoed, he pulled his hand back into a palm, and a complex whisper left his mouth. He gently clapped forward, and at this moment, the sound of the drum reverberated once again. The tremendous force made the cultivator's face turn slightly pale. He did not retreat, but instead drew the treasured sword from his back and swung it downward. A whistling sound filled the air as the sword energy he unleashed cut through the residual drum beats, landing squarely on the drum. The sound of the drum echoed again, and after the 3rd strike, the cultivator's face turned extremely pale. Waves of violent shock echoed from the drum, and with every strike, he endured multiple rebounds of force. The cultivator smiled wryly and, without hesitation, retreated, no longer attempting to strike. With my cultivation, I could easily strike 3 times, and if I pushed it, I might manage 4. But 5 strikes would certainly result in serious injury. Mo Fei has already gained the upper hand, and it's not worth getting injured for him. The green-robed cultivator paused for a moment, then walked back into the crowd. 11 strikes. Mo Fei and his aides struck the demon drum 11 times in total. This feat, caused many of the demon generals to darken in expression. To surpass Mo Fei, both the demon general and his aide must strike the drum 6 times each. Only then can they succeed. But this was almost an impossible task, for there was only one Mo Fei among the demon generals. Even Mo Lihai's face had turned pale. He gazed bitterly at the demon drum, then glanced at Wong Lin, who stood next to him with a grim expression. With a soft sigh, he muttered, "Brother Wong, forget it. We've lost this second round." Another demon general, Shi Xiao, stood with a solemn expression, staring hard at the demon drum. He then spoke in a deep voice, "Chen Tao, how many times can you strike it?" Chen Tao, standing beside him, paused for a moment before responding slowly. "If it were my prime, I could probably strike it more than 10 times. But now, even with medicine, I can only strike 7 times. It's impossible to surpass Mo Fei. This Mo Fei is indeed powerful. If he were in our cultivation world, he would undoubtedly be the top contender. I believe that even if he were to challenge the heavenly path, he could still fight anyone if not in the middle stage of his cultivation." A murderous gleam flickered in Shi Xiao's eyes. He turned to look at Mo Fei, who had been meditating with his eyes closed since returning, and snorted coldly. Among the demon generals, several others were also silently calculating how many times they could strike the drum, wondering if they had a chance of making it into the top 10. At this moment, the golden-armored man swept a cold glance over the crowd. A flash of mockery crossed his eyes as he pointed at Wong Lin with his right hand and slowly said, "You, step forward." Wong Lin moved calmly, stepping out onto the square. His gaze was sharp as he looked at the golden-armored man and said flatly, "I'm not you. I am Wong Lin." The golden-armored man's eyes revealed undisguised killing intent as he spoke in a low voice. "Wong Lin, do you dare make a bet with me? Say it." Wong Lin replied, "I bet you can't strike more than 5 times. If you win, I'll personally recommend you to the Demon Emperor and ensure you become a demon general. But if you lose, you will have to take responsibility for the demon general you injured. If you're too afraid to bet, then get out of here. Don't participate in the contest and leave the celestial demon city. You're not welcome here." As the golden-armored man finished speaking, murmurs rose from the spectator stands. Can he strike 4 times? This outsider killed AOD with ease, but striking this demon drum is the real test. I think if he can strike 3 times, it would be quite impressive. As for AOD, he could probably only manage 1 strike. AOD was only an average-level demon general. If anyone among Shi Xiao, Mo Fei, Yu Sun, or Xielian fought him, they could easily defeat him. Wong Lin beating AOD isn't impressive. Chief Steward Jean is quite interesting. He's actually betting with this outsider. How amusing. At this moment, Vice Marshal Huang smiled and said, "Marshal Xian, the person you picked may be in trouble." Marshal Xian glanced at Wong Lin, snorted, and said, "Chief Steward Jean will be in for a big surprise." Wong Lin calmly looked at the golden-armored man. A faint smile curled at the corner of his lips. But to Vice Marshal Xian, that smile sent a chill down his spine. This man smiled like this when he first took action. Marshal Xian gritted his teeth and muttered to himself, "I don't need you to recommend me to the Demon Emperor," Wong Lin smiled. The golden-armored man's eyes flashed with disdain as he said, "You're too afraid to bet. I want your hand." Wong Lin's voice was cold, like a chilling wind from the abyss. The crowd fell silent for a moment. Just then, Wong Lin took a step forward and walked toward the demon drum. The golden-armored man's eyes flickered with killing intent, and he sneered, "If you can strike it more than 5 times, I'll give you 1 hand. If you strike it 10 times, then 2 hands would be no issue." This Wong Lin is too arrogant. He must be overestimating himself. Striking the demon drum is no easy feat. When he feels the backlash from the drum, he'll realize just how ridiculous his confidence is. What a pity for Mo Lihai. In the next 300 years, he might just lose face because of this person. Wong Lin's expression remained unchanged, showing no signs of agitation as he walked toward the demon drum. His movements were calm, and within a few steps, he was right in front of the drum. Unlike the others who kept their distance and struck the drum in midair to reduce the backlash, Wong Lin went straight to the base of the drum. He floated up, his feet leaving the ground, and gazed at the massive, pitch-black demon drum. At such close range, He could even faintly smell a metallic odor. The drum's surface was not smooth like a mirror. It was covered with numerous small indentations and fine veins, almost like beast skin. Ancient demon skin. Wong Lin extended his right hand and touched the massive drum. The moment his hand made contact, a wave of backlash surged into his body. Wong Lin's eyes tightened. In that instant, a surge of the seal of life erupted from his body, enveloping him with over 3,000 protective layers of the seal of life. Bet that I can't strike more than 5 times. Wong Lin tapped his storage pouch with his left hand, and a wine flask appeared in his grasp. He took a big gulp of wine and smiled. Golden-armored demon, just watch. Wong Lin's right hand clenched into a fist in an instant and struck the demon drum with a powerful blow. Boom! The sound of the drum echoed, forming a rolling thunder that surged across the plaza's skyline. Wong Lin's body didn't move in the slightest, his right fist hanging just 3 inches from the drum. In that moment, his fist came crashing down with a thunderous force. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Boom, 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 for consecutive strikes. These 4 drum beats rang almost simultaneously, catching up to the first one. The sounds merged without a hint of delay, creating a soundstorm centered around the demon drum, violently crashing outward in all directions. The ground of the plaza cracked inch by inch, as if a serpentine earth dragon was rolling underneath, scattering wildly. In the sky, the thunderous roar formed by the silent drum beats grew more intense. Around the spectator stands, countless people spat out blood, their bodies suffering serious internal injuries from the combined impact of the 5 drum beats. Even worse, several individuals were directly struck into a state of feigned death. The 8 demon commanders, except for the Heaven Marshal, all suddenly leaped from their seats, their eyes wide with disbelief. The golden-armored man on the plaza also changed his expression drastically. The 5 thunderclaps, in itself, wouldn't have caused such a shock, but what truly rattled them was the fact that Wong Lin's body remained perfectly still throughout, not moving even an inch. This is impossible. Vice Marshal Huang, beside Vice Marshal Xian, exclaimed in shock. Except for the Heaven Marshal, the other 7 demon commanders stood up, their gazes sharp as swords, filled with a trace of doubt and disbelief. Their eyes were locked on Wong Lin, as if trying to pierce through him. The deputy commanders below them were also left stunned, gazing at Wong Lin in complete astonishment, waves of shock surging in their hearts. It should be known that among those present, someone had struck 5 times before. However, to strike 5 times consecutively, even if one had the strength to do so, the rebound force of those 5 drum beats merging together could only be described as earth-shattering. Such a violent backlash was simply beyond the reach of a demon general. Even a genius like Mo Fei could only resist the force of 3 strikes, and anything more than that would mean certain defeat. Yet Wong Lin had struck 5 times in a row. If the combined rebound force of these strikes had caused him to suffer a heavy injury or retreat in embarrassment, it would have been somewhat acceptable. But this man, inexplicably, stood unfazed, his body floating beside the demon drum, as still as a tranquil pond, as if the 5 strikes hadn't come from him at all, or as though they had struck an ordinary drum with no repercussions. How is this possible? I didn't see wrong, did I? He just casually struck 5 times. There must be something wrong here. This cultivator must have used some underhanded means. Yusin struggled hard to strike 4 times, but this man, in his casualness, struck 5. But Mo Fei struck 8, so Wong Lin couldn't possibly surpass him. There were continuous exclamations from the crowd. Wong Lin's figure was no stranger to them. Just a few days ago, in the first round, as the first cultivator to severely injure a demon general in this arena, his appearance had left a deep impression on everyone. However, the scholars, officials, young masters, and noble women of Celestial Demon City didn't think much of Wong Lin's strength. In their eyes, his opponent, AOD, lacked the necessary strength, which was the reason for his defeat and heavy injury. If Wong Lin had encountered Mo Fei, Shi Xiao, or others, he would have certainly lost. This was a belief deeply rooted in the hearts of most people. But now, this Wong Lin, whom they viewed with disdain, had casually and almost playfully struck 5 times in front of everyone. This scene shocked everyone to their core. Some even wondered if the demon drum was broken, but after seeing the injuries and even fainting of several people around them from the combined sound waves of the 5 drum beats, they felt the tremors of demon power within themselves, almost losing control. Their doubts instantly disappeared. Moreover, the area around the demon drum, extending in a circular pattern for hundreds of feet, had cracked ground after the impact, further confirming the immense force of the shockwave. To cause such devastation in this enclosed plaza could only be described as beyond comprehension. Among the demon generals, almost everyone gasped in awe. Yu Sen's face turned bitter as he shook his head, completely abandoning the thought of competing with Wong Lin. The only female among the demon generals, Xiao Yan, was clad in armor from head to toe. Though the armor covered her entire body, it was extremely revealing, outlining her figure in an alluring way. Her purple-red armored arms exposed a large portion of her snow-white skin, while her upper body armor tightly wrapped around her chest, accentuating her slender waist. A black tattoo ran from her fair neck, through her chest, and down to her lower back. Her lower body was protected by armor plates that arched up behind her, covering her ample backside. Her jade-like legs were also protected, giving her an appearance of graceful strength. Her helmet obscured her face, but her dazzling eyes, filled with brilliance, stared at Wong Lin. Among the demon generals, Shi Xiao revealed a look of astonishment, carefully observing Wong Lin. Chen Tao, standing beside him, whispered, "I told you, this man is very strong." Shi Xiao snorted coldly without speaking, but his expression grew increasingly grim. Among the demon generals, only Mo Fei remained calm, not looking at Wong Lin, but instead staring at the distant horizon, silent. The cultivator from the great Luo sword sect standing next to him revealed a killing intent in his eyes, glaring directly at Wong Lin without any attempt to conceal it. Amid the noise, the golden armored man's face turned extremely dark as he stared blankly at the demon drum, clenching his fists tightly. Wong Lin raised his right hand, retracting it from the demon drum, and turned to face the golden armored man. The instant he turned, the surrounding uproar immediately fell silent, and all eyes turned to Wong Lin. "You've lost," Wong Lin said flatly, pointing at the golden armored man. When he struck the drum earlier, the rebound force was blocked by the seal of life on Wong Lin's body. However, this recoil was immense, and even Wong Lin needed to wait for nearly 2,000 layers of the seal of life to dissipate before he could fully absorb the power. The seal of life, enduring and endless, would continue to reform unless all 3,000 layers were destroyed in an instant. This was the true power of Wong Lin's seal of life. No wonder that gray-clad Tian Yunzi once said that with his billion seals of life to protect him, even if the Destiny Star were to collapse, he would remain unscathed. This level of defense is indeed rare in the world. Upon hearing Wong Lin's words, the golden armored man's expression grew even darker. He snorted coldly and said, "Old man, I told you that you wouldn't exceed 5 strikes. Have you lost your mind, or can't you understand my words? You struck 5 times, which is equal to what I said. It doesn't count as a win." As soon as he said this, the spectators on the stands couldn't help but silently lament that the chief steward Jean had too narrow a mind. Wong Lin gave the golden armored man a cold glance, clenched his fist, and swung it backward. In an instant, his fist landed on the demon drum. Boom! The 6th strike of the drum echoed after the 5 previous ones, and this sound seemed to reverberate in everyone's hearts, causing their pulses to momentarily tremble. A powerful recoil force erupted from the demon drum, like a fierce gale sweeping across the area. Wong Lin's hair flew as the surrounding plaza, hundreds of yards wide, was instantly stirred, with shattered stones flying like waves. It felt as though dragons and serpents were writhing within. Wong Lin's right hand didn't stop. His cold gaze remained fixed on the golden armored man's increasingly grim face, and his right fist struck again. Boom! The 7th strike of the drum rang out, shaking the heavens and earth. The first 6 strikes could be compared to angry waves, but from the 7th strike onwards, the force of the recoil exploded like a raging flood. Mo Fei, the demon general, could strike the drum 6 times without injury, but the seventh strike forced him back, his armor cracking inch by inch. This demonstrated the terrifying power of the seventh strike. When the seventh drumbeat sounded, the very sky seemed to change color. The sound of the drum created a storm, spreading rapidly outward from the center of the demon drum. Wong Lin's right hand remained steady, his body floating upright in midair as his right fist landed on the demon drum, his gaze fixed on the golden, armored man. Above, the seventh thunderclap in the sky seemed to respond, roaring as thunder cracked. Amidst the rumbling noise, Wong Lin's voice slowly emerged. 7 strikes. The golden, armored man's face twitched slightly. He stared at Wong Lin, his voice cold as he said, "I will recommend you to His Majesty the Demon Emperor." Wong Lin shook his head and said flatly, "I want your hand." "How dare you?" The golden, armored man bellowed, a murderous glint flashing in his eyes. He roared, "Say that again. I want your hand." Wong Lin said calmly, and in that instant, his right hand struck the demon drum once more, the thunderous sound of the drum filling the air. Boom! The 8th strike of the drum echoed like 10,000 waves crashing down, with Wong Lin's words reverberating alongside the drum beats, as if they had become countless echoes, spreading violently in all directions. "I want your hand." In that moment, the entire world seemed to be filled with that single phrase. Especially with the shockwave from the 8th drumbeat, the power of the drum triggered the heavens themselves. The sky rumbled as if the very earth was on the verge of collapsing. In the midst of the violent echoes, Wong Lin's words seemed no longer his own, but as though the heavens and earth themselves were speaking. This sound represented the heavens. The voice of the heavens, the sound of the earth, merged with the drum beats, forming a single sentence. The words were not louder than thunder, but they were far more astonishing. The unimaginable force caused the golden armored man's face to drain of color. His body involuntarily took several steps back, his face pale and his ears ringing with a buzzing sound. In that brief moment, he had a strange sensation, as though he were facing the very might of the heavens, and a surge of demon power began to stir inside him. He even felt a fleeting impulse to sever his own arm. The spectators in the stands were equally stunned. None of them had the courage to speak as they had before. The surroundings were eerily silent. Among the onlookers, aside from a few exceptions, no one doubted that if Wong Lin's words had been directed at them, they would have truly cut off their own arm. The sound just now was the heavenly might. This sound was the law itself, the most solemn decree between the heavens and earth that surrounded them. Among the demon generals, Mo Fei was the first to shift his gaze from the sky and set it on Wong Lin. Among the demon commanders, except for the heaven marshal who remained unaffected and didn't even glance at Wong Lin, the other 7's expressions subtly changed. Their eyes turned to Wong Lin with a strange look. Words become law. The 7 demon commanders exchanged glances, each seeing the shock in the other's eyes. They had not noticed that the unmoving heaven marshal, at the moment the sound echoed, had slightly opened the gap between his always closed eyes, revealing a faint, murky light. Among the deputy commanders, Deputy Commander Huang was completely stunned. The Deputy Commander Xin sitting beside him couldn't help but sigh inwardly. The golden armored man's face turned pale, but he quickly regained his composure. He fixed his gaze on Wong Lin and slowly spoke. The sound merged with the